to story time with King Cecil Tells, the king of the dad jokes. All right. Everyone knows the story of the three little pigs. Or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You could call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. You see, it's not my fault that wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. It's just the way we are. We're wolves, you know? And look, if cheeseburgers were cute, then folks would think that you were all big and bad people too. Anyway, like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing, it's all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. So let me tell you the real story. All right. Way back in once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake. It was for my dear old granny. And I had a terrible sneezing cold that day, really bad. I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor, for a cup of sugar for the cake. And my neighbor was this little pig. And he wasn't too bright. He was not a really smart pig. He built his whole house out of straws. So I said, can you believe it? I mean, what kind of person or pig in their right mind would build an entire house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door fell right in because it was just straws. And I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house. So I said, little pig, are you in? I was just about to go home without a cup of sugar for my old granny's birthday cake, And that's when my nose, it started to itch a little bit. And I felt the sneeze coming on, but I was trying to hold it in. So I huffed and then I puffed. And, next thing you know, and I sneezed a really, really big sneeze. Just like that. Well, I'm sure you can guess what happened next. That whole darn straw house, it fell right down. And right in the middle of that big pile of straw was the first little pig. He was dead as a doornail. Nothing. I know, right? Terrible, terrible. He'd been home the entire time. I didn't even see him there sitting there in the house of straw. Well, it seemed like a shame to me to leave a perfectly good ham dinner just sitting there right in the middle of the room. So I ate the pig up. What would you do if a big cheeseburger was sitting right there, a piece of pizza? You'd eat it too. So anyway, I was feeling a little bit better after having that nice ham meal. So I still did not have the cup of sugar for my granny's cake. And I went to the next door neighbor's house. Now, this neighbor was that first little pig. It was his brother. This guy, he was a little smarter, but not much smarter. Because he built his house out of sticks. So he had straw the first guy. This guy made sticks. And I rang the bell on this little stick house. And nobody answered. So I said, Mr. Pig, are you in? And he called back,
Go away, Wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs of my chinny chin.
And I just grabbed the doorknob. I was about to leave, mind my own business, when I felt another what? Another sneeze coming on. So I was trying to keep it down. I huffed and I puffed, and the next thing you know, I opened my mouth and I think it passed. Good. Nope. Another big sneeze. Nope. And you're not gonna believe it. This guy's house, all the sticks fell right down too. I wish I could whistle like you did. I did a really good whistle there. Thank you. When the dust cleared, there was that second little pig, also dead like a doornail, right there, like those chickens and squirrels you guys were talking about before. Wolf's honor, I swear, he was already dead right there. Listen, I don't know if you know anything about food, but without a refrigerator, the whole thing's gonna spoil. So you can't just leave it sitting there. So the only thing I did, I did what I was supposed to do. I had dinner again. I made some sausages out of the pig, and think of it like, a second helping if you had a little fries after the hamburger or a McFlurry or something. And now I was getting awfully full, but my cold, it was feeling a little bit better. But I still did not have that cup of sugar I needed for my granny's, cake, her birthday cake. So I went to the next house, and this guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family, this pig. You know why? Because he made his house out of bricks. So I knocked on the brick house. No answer. And I said, Mr. Pig, are you in? And don't you know what that rude little porky, you know what he said to me? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. Well, talk about being an impolite pig. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar in his house, didn't want to share any of it. So, I said, I was about to go home. I was a little upset, a little mad. I want to tell you that, but I said, you know what? I'm going to leave, but I felt my cold coming on again. And this time I tried to hold my nose. I huffed, and I puffed, and I let out the biggest sneeze. You're covering your ears already. See, that's how big this sneeze was. It was bigger than all. I'm going to turn this way so it doesn't even go in your direction. Ah! Shoo! This gigantic sneeze. And then the third little pig, he yelled at me, oh yeah? That did nothing. Yeah, little granny, she could sit on a pin. Well, now usually, look, I'm usually a pretty calm guy. I don't get too upset or anything. But when somebody talks about my grandma like that, I go a little crazy. So when the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down that pig's door. And the whole time, I was huffing, and I was puffing, and I was sneezing. I was making a real big scene. And, well, the rest, as they say, it's all history there. The news reporters found out about the two pigs, that I had for a little snack there. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar, it didn't sound too exciting. So they took my story and they jazzed it up with all that stuff, the I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. They made up the whole thing about the big bad wolf. I ain't big and bad. But that's my story and I'm sticking to it. The whole thing was I was framed. But maybe next time you guys can loan me a cup of sugar to make my grandma's cake, huh? What do you think?
Here's sugar.
All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you. So that's the big bad wolf story. Now you know the real story of the big bad wolf.